Okay, let's try this one more time. I hope this works. Um, let's see if, yeah, the network works well. If it doesn't, then okay, what can we do? Hello, Martins, second try. Everyone's gone. Gone. I don't know. You can try having a chat on your phone open. It's kind of sad. I don't know where. I mean, of course, I know those people are just kind of lost. So maybe I can go into my YouTube and type over there in the previous, uh, the stream that just ended right now as to what to do. Ugh, people. Seriously, network and connectivity are such a pain. Four people watching. Are we four people here? No, it says two people. Five people here. Hello, hello, hello. Who else do we have here? Oh, I know the people. Oh, so you're here, Atlas guide. Okay. I know it just got kind of messed up because of the network and everything. Right. Did you watch the video, guys? Did you like the video? I need you to talk to me. Okay, tell me something. What's the most fascinating thing for you about the Indus Valley civilization? For me, it's the lack of writing. Like, there's hardly any samples of their writing. Like, for Egypt, we have a massive sample, a massive amount. Their writing is everywhere. You can seriously read their words, their sentences, their stories. But for the Indus Valley, there's like just a dozen of writing samples that we are left with. And the longest writing sample that we have is only 26 characters. Like, what can you make out of it? That's just barely a sentence. So, for me, that's the most, the Kira is here. The most fascinating thing for me is the lack of their writing. Like, they were clearly artists. We've seen their figurines and stuff. So, we know they obviously had an artistic bent of mind. Humans have that. But where's their writing? Why didn't they write? The most fascinating thing to me seemed like the fact that despite being so advanced, they fell apart. Or at least, yes, yes, yes. Like the system. Yes, the engineering, as it were, without any king or how they followed. Exactly the structure of the Indus Valley society. Because you really cannot have a flat society. You cannot have flat organized. Somebody needs to lead, right? And for the Indus Valley, there is no government building, there's no palace, there's not even something like a temple, because in older societies, religion sort of took the place of leading the society into how to manage things. But there's not even a temple in the Indus Valley region that we found. So, how was their society organized? Gosh, the fact that they kept building on top of the earlier one. It was a pretty long, like the society ran for at least 3,000 years. So, yes, bath temples, ritual cleansing, which is a factor in Hinduism as well. And that's definitely fascinating. Okay, I want to ask you this. Why do you think cities are abandoned? Like, what happens? Why do people abandon the residents of a city? Abandon a city? Why would they do such a thing? What do you think is the most probable cause of decline? I think it was a multiple cycle of factors for the probable cause of decline. It definitely was a lot of, yeah. Sometimes what happens is anything that reaches its peak, it becomes so unstable that it must come down. The Roman society, the moment it reached its peak, in less than 100 years, it immediately crumbled down. Same with the Mughal Empire. It reached its peak under Aurangzeb and immediately it crumbled. So I think you come to a point where you're just too big to handle your systems. And then you naturally decline. Floods and natural calamities, definitely. Rivers started to dry up. We have evidence of earthquakes. So, nature has always played an important role in every civilization. Fall of any civilization you pick up, nature has had an impact on it. Absolutely. Hygiene fell apart. Oh, come on. I don't think hygiene would have fallen apart. It was a pretty well established system, very pretty well established society. But yes, as I was asking you, why do you think people just abandon a city, like a running, alive city with homes and people with occupations, the government buildings running, trade systems running, shops running? Why would people abandon a city? And the reason I'm asking you this is that out of the 523 Indus Valley towns and cities that have been excavated so far, 324, that's more than 50%, were actually abandoned, just abandoned. And I think this is where some secret lies into what was the problem. But there's no consistency that has been found in all these 324 towns. Like, why did people abandon? Because in some of them, yes, there is evidence of fire. So maybe there was a siege, there was an attack, but not all of them. And they were all abandoned in the peak time, not in the decline time. So you cannot say that it was declining, there were less opportunities, the climate had affected the food production, so maybe they left. They left in the peak time. And I think this is really fascinating about the Indus Valley civilization. Out of the 523 towns, 324 were actually abandoned during the lifetime. Policies were the main because during the Mughal and the Roman, but it's not yet known. Yes, so Dandy says, but the policies were the main cause during Mughal and Roman, but it's not yet known in Indus other than nature. The thing is, they are just so far apart from us in time, the Indus Valley. It's just like there are more questions than answers. And like, so we don't know. It could have been policies. We just don't have their policies. We don't see their policies. So we can't say that policies were not a factor. We don't know if policies were a factor and how they were a factor, but the lack of policies that for us, for excavation, we don't know if those were not. You know what I'm saying? Administration of Kuldhara village in Jaisalmer does happen even when established. How is it concluded that it was abandoned and not something else? Is it something more technical to explain? You can see decline in the architecture of a city in terms of people, whether people were involved in the decline or not. And this is really interesting question, Shashank, because archaeology is more about putting two and two together. You don't have clear answers. And this reminds me of something I learned in one of my archaeology classes. And the question was this, and I'm going to ask you, okay? So imagine you are all archaeologists and you are examining the remains of an old dead civilization, a small town. And you it's an open space which you are now examining with rocks, and on the rocks and near the walls, it's a small space, rocks here and cave entry here, okay, and you see remains like chicken bones, some chicken bones. So it's like 1,000-year-old civilization. So you can imagine the quality of the chicken bones. You won't find an entire skeleton, but some bones of chicken. You see some on the stones. You can see remains of shea butter. Okay, and in the mud you can see dried up 1,000-year-old remains of blood. Okay, so you have these three evidence. How will you analyze it? Was this a kitchen or was this a ritual sacrifice place? Do you understand my question, guys? How will you analyze from the remains whether this was a kitchen or whether this was a sacrifice place? Difficult, right? Should I repeat what I just asked you? Why does it seem like you're all silent? Was it a difficult question or what, did you just lose me completely? Walter, kitchen, because if it had been a ritual place, there should be more than one person. There's no person. We just found blood remains of animals. But yeah, I mean, your theory is correct. If it would have been a ritual place, we'd find more. But then remember, with time, a lot of evidence gets erased. So even if there were blood remains of more people, after 1,000 years, how much do you think remains? It's a crumbling, broken site, right? You have to piece together evidence, and majority of evidence is lost always. For example, in the Indus Valley civilization, we have hardly found any burial. There are burial places, there have been skeletons found, but not proportionate to the population. For ritual, room should be large enough to support some audience. I don't know. Is audience always necessary for a ritual? Could be a family ritual. Guess more, guys. For every theory in archaeology, there's always a counter theory because you're always just guessing. It's at best guessing. We don't know if it was a kitchen, if it was, or if it was a ritual space, right? Not dead bones. We caught some bones, bacteria in the sewer system. That's the thing. All the logical evidence that you are saying should be there is not always there. No, because with time it's obviously gone. For the Indus Valley civilization, the remains that we have found, that we have excavated, those are a small percentage of what their lives were actually about, right? And this is the point I'm making. So I know we want to think that we know the Indus Valley civilization, but we don't. We don't really know that. Um, and I wanted to press upon you this point that I know we want answers, but we don't have them. We don't. In most cases, we don't actually. Okay, ask me your questions about the Indus Valley civilization now. And then I won't take more of your time. But yes, I love the discussion we had where I could impress upon you the problems with archaeology, prehistoric times, because there's no one telling you a story. You have to put the story together. So, same with another Indus Valley example are the seals, the Pashupati seal that we found. And it looks remarkably like a man sitting in a yogic posture. From our imagination, it also looks very close to Shiva, the Hindu god Shiva. But we don't know what it actually was. We're just guessing from our own worldview, right? We don't actually know what the Pashupati seal meant for them. Why did they make it? Same, How can we tell if Mohenjo and Harappa were planned? Oh, we can easily tell if Mohenjo-daro and Harappa were planned cities or not because the clear grid pattern, their streets are very nicely planned in terms of what is the entry point, how will the traffic move around, what are the residential spaces. We can clearly tell the residential spaces from the commercial spaces. We can clearly tell the granary apart from houses and all. So it's very, when are you taking, I really want to go to Mohenjo-daro, I don't know, for some reason I want to see Mohenjo-daro more than I want to see Harappa. I don't know. But yeah, there, even the walls have been rounded off of the corner buildings in Indus Valley just so that wheeled traffic could turn around. And that clearly shows like extremely good planning. The houses were 2 or 3 story. It's extremely beautiful. I know. Mohenjo-daro would be very nice to go to. Even Harappa, I mean, come on. Dholavira also, Rakhigari also. The funnest part for me is piecing together their stories. Like I imagine people there and their lives there, like living our kinds of lives, waking up in the morning, or your Insta poll said they had just 26 unique characters. Does it make difficult to decipher or easy? Asking as it is. No, it makes it very difficult to decipher because you cannot see patterns. The fact that the longest evidence of the Indus Valley script we have is only 26 makes life difficult, yes. Martins, you'd really need to chill out a bit. Okay, guys, what equipments did they use to make these cities? As far as I know, and I know I could be wrong about this, they obviously didn't have our kinds of weapons, but it was a Bronze Age civilization. So their equipment was mostly bronze, not as strong as iron and all. Iron made, I mean, and that's the thing. You can see that they didn't use much stone in their construction. Stone is only used in the foundational walls and stuff. Um, but we have unearthed a lot of their tools, which are very similar to the tools you would expect from people of that time. We've excavated sickles, we've excavated axes, we've excavated knives. So really the kind of things you would expect in a town back then, pretty normal, but out of bronze. Nothing special. Okay, guys. Yeah, I don't want to take too much of your time. Anything else? Should we close this? Unless you want to talk about something. Is it 26 characters, 20 unique writings. 26 characters. 26 characters, not 26 unique writings. That would be quite nice, but no. You know what we mostly found, their writing evidence, is mostly invoices, seals, which were used for trade. So, like on a trade receipt, what would you write? How many goods, the amount, and what goods? So, cornelian and the weight of cornelian that you're, or the pieces of cornelian, right? The longest has only 26 characters. It's not 26 unique writings, sadly, not. Uh-uh. Yeah. Anything else, guys? Should we close this? Oh, what language they used? Oh, Suraj, we have absolutely no clue. We don't even like their base language also. No, no, we haven't been able to read anything they wrote. We have some samples of their writing from the trade receipts in Mesopotamia, from some of their seals. It was pictographic, so there were pictorial iconic symbols, but what they are saying, we don't know. We don't know their language. It is undeciphered. It's lost language, sadly. And even if we decipher it, I'm not sure if we'll still know a lot more about them because their longest piece of writing that we have is only 26 characters. That's barely anything. Barely anything, right? Talk to me. What else? Should we close this? What other videos do you want to see? Do type in on the comments. I mean, I'd love to know what more topics you want to see. That would be sweet. Okay. Okay. Let's yeah. Okay, Tata, bye bye. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for this discussion. It's been nice. It's nice to interact, especially ideas that help you interpret a society. It's absolutely brilliant. So I loved the discussion and I hope you liked it too. Share your ideas if you have any ideas for topics for the videos and all. Absolutely. Always type them in. Yeah. Bye bye. Prithviraj Chauhan. That's actually a good idea. I might actually do it. Yeah.